It's big in scale and cost, and the nation's top infrastructure body has low confidence in the state's $34 billion budget. It's asked Victoria for more detail and an upgraded price tag in order to unlock more federal cash. Minister, thanks for joining Stateline. Have any of those things happened?
We're continuing to deliver the information that the Federal Infrastructure Department needs and to engage with Commonwealth ministers and, of course, the Prime Minister. When it issued its report, Infrastructure Australia, which is an advisory body, it doesn't make decisions itself, indicated that it was advising to release the $2.2 billion because the priority project, which is what the Suburban Rail Loop is a necessary part of managing growth.
It said it had low confidence in the Victoria's estimate between $30 and $34 billion for SRL East. So what is the cost estimate now? So
the information that's set out in our business and investment case, which was published back in 2021, does say that within $30 and $34.5 billion, the range can be achieved for delivery of the Suburban Rail Loop East.
We've seen Metro Tunnel, Westgate Tunnel, North East Link all have big blowouts on their initial estimates. Can you guarantee that this won't go above $34 billion?
Well, we're on track at the moment.
The model for the funding of this leg is a third essentially. You've got the state contribution, you're going to do value capture, and you're relying on a third coming from the Commonwealth. What is the state's backup, and was it reckless to begin this without all funding locked in?
I think it's irresponsible to describe the problems of a city that is growing at an enormous rate. We will be the size of London by the 2050s, and not to have any long-term plan to address those challenges of congestion. And my objective is to make sure that we do secure that funding in the way that we have in other major infrastructure projects.
It's all well and good to have those aspirations and those goals, but what happens if the Commonwealth says no? You could be looking at a $9 billion hole at least, if they don't come to the party.
People continue to support the Suburban Rail Loop East project because they know it stacks up. So 4 elections now, we've seen people back this project in, and we're continuing to work with the Commonwealth.
Is there a backup though? Is there a plan B for funding this project?
Well, the plan is to make sure that we do secure that funding.
The other stream of funding that you're looking at is value capture. If people have to pay more to build there, isn't that a disincentive to build there?
There are a range of different tools that we have at our disposal to make sure that this Suburban Rail Loop East development is attractive to developers and to industry and to investment, that we're also not slugging homeowners within the existing areas.
How do you levy the $2 billion for each station hub, for each precinct, to get to the 11.8 that you need?
So we're working alongside industry, alongside communities and the federal government on that funding and finance strategy, which includes value capture. Looking forward to finalising that in the coming months, including with the Commonwealth. We're determined to continue with this work to deliver not only the infrastructure, but also the housing, because we know that to do nothing is not a solution. It's going to push that growth out into the northern and western areas. These are areas that know only too well what a lack of access to infrastructure means for them.
Well, you mentioned the north and west of Melbourne. The train lines in those areas are clogged. What do you say to those people living in those parts of Melbourne, some of the most rapidly expanding parts of Melbourne, why they can't get their train line upgraded or fixed while the government is spending all this money on a new train line in the east, which is already quite well serviced by public transport?
This is where those investments that have been made by the state and federal governments, whether that's in unlocking the Sunshine precinct with that super hub, that will mean we can see more than 40 additional services per hour. Melton electrification, the Melbourne Airport rail work.
This thing's been promised for some time.
But this is now funded. This is work. But this is work that's happening.
When is it too late to cancel the project without the penalties going to absolutely destroy the state budget?
Well, exit strategies are part of every major project and its delivery. So contracts are, because of what responsible management of finances look like, inherently geared toward a range of scenarios. The only people who are talking about cancelling this project are the state opposition.
And some Labor MPs.
Well, the Labor government is determined to continue with this work. Labor ministers are all supportive of the project. Brad Batten and the Liberals are continuously calling for the sacking of 3,000 workers and
But hold on, your government's sacking workers right now in the public sector. next?
We're returning a number of our settings across government to their pre-COVID levels. But to be really clear, we have 3,000 workers on site now, millions of hours that have been worked towards this project.
In 2035, how many people are actually going to be catching the train from Box Hill to Cheltenham?
So, Suburban Rail Loop East and North, we're talking about
east. I'm talking about
460,000.
No, I'm talking about...
Yep.
That's still a line on a map. You're building something from Cheltenham to Box Hill in 2035. That's what you're doing. That's what we're spending the money on as a state. How many people are catching the train between Box Hill and Cheltenham?
So again, our long-term modelling shows that across both of the tranches of that orbital rail loop, we'll see 460,000 people travelling on that line every day.
But that's like a line of spin, right? Because it's a drawing at the moment. You're actually building this bit. $34 billion, $30 to $34 billion between Box Hill and Cheltenham. How many people are using that in 2035 when this opens?
As many as the timetable will allow.
So which is how many?
Well, that's where the timetable development comes in.
When you're developing this idea, you've surely got an idea of how many people are going to be using it between these point A and point B and the points along the way. So how many people are going to use it?
The objective is to get to turn up and go services, which then means across those twin tunnels, we'll be able to have people accessing that to the greatest density possible.
Minister, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Rich.